want to get to a story impacting not just North Carolinians, but people across the country. People who have debts that need to be collected are increasingly saying that these agencies that collect these debts are using sometimes threatening tactics. And we have data now showing that this is growing across the country. So Nate Morbido looked into that data. He's here now. Nate, this is a lot of information to look at. What sticks out to you?
Yeah, I mean, number one, that the number of complaints alleging abusive or harassing behavior or other things by debt collectors has increased substantially, especially here in North Carolina.
Interesting.
It's increased by more than 10 times just since 2024. And Carlene, I don't know if you can pull up the map just so we can kind of show where we're getting this data from to be transparent with you. This is Federal Trade Commission data. And if you click on a state, you can kind of see the number of complaints specific for this particular issue. And that's in the kind of the darker blue. But if you scroll down just a little bit, Carlene, it should say the number of reports over time. Look at that. So remember, dark blue is what we're concerned with right now. These are the complaints of abusive or threatening behavior, and they have increased substantially. That's North Carolina. South Carolina looks similar, not as much of an increase, but still going up.
That's a stark jump. Wow.
Yeah, and it's a trend nationwide, too. I mean, you can see some states have it even worse right now. And what that tells you is that, number one, people are becoming more aware that the federal government provides oversight over debt collectors. It also shows that people are not afraid to file complaints, and it makes you wonder, too, if the behavior is increasing as well. Now, I've been fortunate, although I have had debt in my life, I've not been in a situation where it went unpaid. But I, through this job, have met people who have been in that situation. And what sticks out to me in these conversations is people generally are embarrassed and ashamed that at some point in their life, everything happened at one time and things got out of control.
Sure.
But they usually will own it. They will say, I made some mistakes. I needed to get my spending under control, and they want to move past it. They want to work toward paying the debt. And so the question then becomes, when a debt collector calls you and you do owe money, what kind of behavior should we expect? What is acceptable? And they are governed by rules. And we talked to one woman, you'll see her tonight at 11 in our investigation, who lives in Huntersville. She's a nurse practitioner, very well accomplished in life, but had at one point $32,000 worth of unpaid debt. And she said, I was so ashamed. Here I am helping people for a living. I kind of felt like a fraud, but I couldn't even get my own financial life under control. But at the same time, she was telling us that these calls are relentless, number one. And number two, it felt demeaning to her. The tactics these people would use felt demeaning to her. So I really wanted to come on and talk to you guys because I want consumers to know that they have rights and resources available. So this woman connected with a nonprofit called Money Management Incorporated that has been able to greatly reduce her debt, and she'll be debt-free in a few years, thank goodness.
That's awesome.
But at the same time, a big part of this is educating people, and that's what Money Management Incorporated is really trying to do. So we interviewed Jonathan Wolfson. He lives here in Charlotte. He helps people all the time, and he had some really great tips about if you get a call from a debt collector, some of the very first things you should do and the things that you shouldn't do. A lot of this was news to me, and I think it's such great advice that I just want to share that with people right now, and then we can kind of come back and chat a little more about
absolutely.
The first thing that I would do if I came in contact with a third-party collection agency is to make sure that I got a pen and took copious notes, making sure that you're verifying all the information that you're getting from the agency. The way that you can typically know if it's a legitimate third-party collection agency is they start the call with what's called the mini Miranda. This is an attempt to collect a debt, and any information obtained will be used for that purpose. If you do feel like the debt may be valid or may be yours, I would request a written validation. Again, it's something that I would not pay anything. And they're required within 5 days of first contact with you to send you a written validation of the debt. So that's something that you would want. In addition to that, you do have the ability, under other provisions, you do have the ability to be able to put the third-party collection agency in what they call on notice, which means they don't have the ability to be able to contact you at home, be able to contact you at work. Now, what I will tell you, you want to send that to them in writing, and you want to go to, and I know this is kind of antiquated, but you want to go to the post office, and you do want to do it return receipt. This way you know that they've received it, you have validation that they've received it. Now, this doesn't mean that you still don't owe the debt, it just means they can't continue to contact you. But if they are harassing you, you know what I'm saying, you can tell them that you'd like to put them on notice.
All right, so Jonathan works for Money Management International. I think I said Incorporated. I wanted to correct that. Money Management International. What's interesting about him is the first several years of his career, he worked as a debt collector.
Oh, interesting.
So he knows how it goes on the other side. And what he told us is that a lot of times there's, kind of a compensation plan where you get a certain percentage of the money you collect. And so it's much more enticing for a debt collector and financially beneficial to try to collect the money quickly on the front end and to make the process move quickly, right? And I think his advice there is just, you got some time, slow down, make sure that that's verified. If you don't want them calling you anymore, tell them as much in writing, and then you can go about paying it the right way. What's also interesting is there is an industry group of debt collectors, and essentially their message is they believe that you should be communicating with the debt collectors first before you escalate to your state attorney general, to the Federal Trade Commission, to Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. I'm probably leaving out a word of that federal agency. But basically, before you reach out to them, you should communicate directly with the debt collectors. So you're hearing two different sides of this thing. And the bottom line is you just should be educated. Before you get in the situation, before the calls start coming, you just want to have a game plan. Because again, I believe most people own their mistakes and want to correct their debt and come clean with it. But at the same time, they want to do it in a way that doesn't feel pressured and doesn't put them in a position where they're even in a worse situation.
I'm curious, especially with his previous experience as a debt collector himself, if he was surprised by these recent numbers or if he was...
No, not really. And he is very quick to say not all debt collectors are this way, right? We're not going to lump everybody into one category. But especially with some of the federal loan kind of changes, he says a lot of debt has come due. And so people are getting more calls, and in some ways people may feel strong-armed by it. But ultimately, he just didn't feel good about his career.
Yeah.
And he said, I needed to do something different that would actually help people. And you have people that you're helping change their lives. And we're talking about like reducing interest rates that you have to pay back maybe coming up with a budgeting plan. And this is great advice too. I certainly don't do it, and maybe I should, but really write down everything that you spend in a month and really track it. It's such simple, like financial literacy. And once you do it the first time, it becomes much easier. But he really believes in knowing how much you spend, so then you can make some decisions about how much money you have coming in and how much you should be spending coming out. And at least at that point, you don't get into a situation where you are in debt. But this woman that you're going to hear from at 11 tonight, she has really become great at budgeting now.
Sure.
This is something that she has really changed. She came from a family who was very financially responsible and is trying to be financially responsible again. And I'm just really happy for her because she's so positive, and she really seems to have worked hard to right the ship.
I have a question because they mentioned, like, when you get these calls from debt collectors, like, take notes about what they're saying. Can you record the call?
Yeah, I don't know legally. I mean, I guess it depends what state you're in.
What state you're in, right? For
if it's
one
a
party.
Yeah.
And if you're the one party, then you can do it.
North Carolina's one party,
Yeah.
so you couldn't be able to record it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the recording part also comes, are you going to disseminate that recording too?
Sure.
So, like, if you're recording it for your benefit, I'm just not going to give advice because I'm not an attorney on
Sure,
that.
sure.
But I know in one party states, as long as one party knows, you can record.
Okay.
I know a lot of that, interesting advice from Jonathan is going to be really helpful for people tonight at 11. We're going to hear from that woman in Huntersville with personal experience. Anything else we need to know ahead of your story?
No, I just think that people, if you're experiencing this, and again, I've talked to a lot of people that have, there is hope for you. There is a way to make sure the debt collectors get what they are after, but to also protect yourself. And I think what's interesting about this organization, which I was not familiar with before we started talking and looking into this, is that, for them, they're a nonprofit. And so they have kind of fees based on income that can help people. And I think that's an asset for folks too, that there are some options out there for people that are trying to get over this hump. And again, you'll hear from this woman in 11. She's a professional. She has a child. Her mother lives with them. She has a beautiful home. She really is on the other side of this. She still owes the money, right? But she has totally changed her situation because she learned about the options she had and was able to kind of start tightening the belt and coming up with a plan to move forward.
I think that's going to be, an inspiring story for a lot of people.
I hope
to
so. I
see.
mean, it was inspiring for us because she's just, again, positive people. You want to root for them, right? And I can sit there and say, put yourself in their shoes, Could this have happened to you? Potentially. You never know. Life happens, right? And sometimes it all piles up on people. And sometimes it's just reckless spending. And so at some point you have to say, this is my responsibility. What can I do? Right? But you got to make sure that the debt is in fact yours, because there have been issues we've looked into before where there was no verification.
Right.
And that you can't do that. You got to be very upfront with people and transparent.
And that's where people like Jonathan can come in and
Yep.
help.
Exactly.